All right, everybody, welcome back in. It's so good to see you. Thank you for joining us. We are doing a draft report on Aidan Hutchinson. This is the extended version. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to go through a number of things so that by the time we're done, we have a pretty good handle on how good Aidan Hutchinson is in different categories and maybe a pretty good feel of how good he can be overall in the NFL. If you want to watch the shorter version and just grab I think it's a 13-minute video where you're just getting a quick capsule, a quick look at it, I've got that as well where I basically just cover these grades, okay? So if you're like, man, this video is going to be way too long, I don't want to watch this, by all means, click over to the shorter video and watch that one instead. This is the in-depth version. Let's start very quickly with the grades. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these because that's in the shorter version, but just a quick walkthrough. First step, that is his footwork, his ability to get off the line of scrimmage quickly after the snap. It's an A. He's got very quick footwork, outstanding. His strength, and again, I know he can do a Turkish weight lift or whatever the heck it's called, and I know there's a video about him shoving an Ohio State offensive lineman on his backside. I'm fully aware of that, but his strength consistently is in the B category. It's not like he's consistently pushing offensive tackles around. His speed, if you watch the highlight videos, he looks very fast. There are times where he is blazing fast, but his speed is really in the CB category. It's not in the elite category. His blockability is again in the B. There are times where he's just flat unblockable. There are other times where guys have a lot of success actually slowing him down, and even if they can't completely shut him down, they're limiting him. Against the run, he's solid against the run, not dominant, but he's solid against the run. He'll hold his own. He's strong enough and smart enough to set the edge and hold his own against the run, but he's not dominating against people. He's not shutting down running backs. Teams aren't generally afraid to run in his direction, although sometimes they have found it easier to run in different directions just because of who else is on that Michigan defensive line. In general, Hutchinson is not shutting down the running game, but he is holding his own. In the pass game, he can drop into coverage, he can drop into his zone, but you're not going to see him making hardly any plays in the football, and he's just not fast enough to actually guard anybody one-on-one. So you will not, if you watch the college films, you will not see him guarding anybody one-on-one in college, and you certainly won't see that in the NFL. That's not a knock against him, but that's just a fact of life that you're not going to see him dropping into coverage and guarding anybody one-on-one. Stunting or twisting back into the middle. What he can do is work through traffic very well and get to the middle, but he's not fast enough to get home to the quarterback when he has to go all the way around another defensive player, all the way around 2 or 3 offensive linemen, work his way back into the middle. Almost none of his sacks were off of stunts or twists, okay? Very, very few of them, if any, were off of a stunt or twist. He's just not quick enough to get all the way back into the middle. Defensive tackle, he's got the tools to play defensive tackle, but not the body mass. So if teams want to move him to defensive tackle in the future, it's definitely an option. If for some reason they don't want him sitting there at defensive end, which I think they're going to, I think there's almost no doubt they're going to leave him at defensive end. But just again, what all can he do on a football field? He's capable of playing very well at defensive tackle, but he's going to need a good 15 or 20 pounds added on, so he's got the lower body mass to anchor down and get a push there in the middle of the line of scrimmage. And then in the flat, this guy's a hustler. This guy's engine never stops. From the second the ball is snapped till way after the play is over, when he's the best cheerleader the Michigan Wolverines have by far, this guy never stops. But he's not fast enough to get out there in the flat and cover, get to hardly anybody. Not the quick quarterbacks, not the wide receiver screens, not the running back screens, not the running backs running out there, not the running backs catching the football. I don't want to say you never see him make a play out there in the flat, but you almost never see him make a play out in the flat. We'll cover more of that in just a second, but that's a quick look at the grades. And his body type is 6'6", so he's a tall guy, 265 pounds, which means he has decent weight, but he tends to be more on the thin side. You may find a different height-weight combination listed somewhere. If you want to post that in the comments, by all means, stick it up there. But this is a general body type, okay? He's somewhere in the 6'6", 265-pound category. He's a tall, leaner kind of a guy. strong for his body type, but again, doesn't have the lower body mass, okay? His best move, let's go through all the in-depth stuff, all right? Let's have some fun. His best move is an inside jump move. I call it an inside jump. It's not necessarily a jump, but basically the idea is this. When you see that the ball is snapped, this is the quarterback right here. There's 3 of the offensive linemen. I'm not showing all of them. Typically what you'll see the offensive line kind of start to back up a little bit. And that's not unusual, right? When they're pass blocking, they're backing up, trying to make it difficult for anybody to get around them on either side. What that does, why Hutchinson loves that so much, is he has very quick feet and he has strong hands. And when he does that, he gets a tremendous jump off the line of scrimmage with that incredible first step he has. He's got a very quick first step. And then because his hands are so strong, he does have very strong hands, he is actually able to swat away. You'll see it on the videos. This is something you can see on the highlights. He'll swat away the hands of the tackle who's trying to stop him and guard him. He'll swat those hands away, and then you'll see him cut to the inside right here. And you'll see him, as the quarterback drops back, you'll see him push through there. And that's an inside move. Sometimes he has a little bit of a hop or a jump with it. So in other words, as he's smacking the hands away, he's also kind of accelerating himself past the tackle through to the inside here, okay? So he's using that really fast first step that he has. Incredible first step, really. He's also using the fact that offensive linemen tend to already be backing up anyway in pass coverage. That's not unusual, especially against a good defensive end like Hutchinson. And he's using that, and then he's using his strong hands because he's got strong upper body. He's using those strong hands to smack the tackle's hands away, and then he's using his quick feet to do kind of a little hop step inside, and that gets him inside of the quarterback. And that is his number one move by far. By leaps and bounds and far away, this is his best move because he does have the strong hands, he does have the quick first step, he does have quick feet, and he's a smart player, okay? He's been trained and taught since, I don't know, but probably since he was 4 or 5 years old. He's been trained and taught this stuff, and he has very good footwork. He's good at all of that, okay? So that's his best move. It's an inside jump move. Sometimes it's a jump, sometimes not, but it's that inside move, and that's where he gets most of his sacks, okay? By far and away, I think out of his 14 sacks, I don't remember exactly, I think 7 or 8 of them came off of this inside move here. So that's his best move by far, and that's where most of his quarterback pressures come from as well, is that move right there. Now, he uses that. Let's talk about his speed around the edge, okay? He uses this excellent inside move to set up his speed around the edge. I talked about this in the short video. I alluded to it here. He doesn't have elite speed. He's got above average speed. He's got good speed, but it's not elite. And if he didn't have this inside move right here, if somehow you could take that away, he wouldn't have as good of an edge move around the outside. Now, when you go to the NFL level and you see Micah Parsons, and you see Myles Garrett, and you see J.J. Watt, or you see some of the other guys who are good at rushing the quarterback, usually they're better off the edge, not necessarily Watt, but usually the other guys are better off the edge than he is. You will see him, and again, let's start dropping these guys back out here. You will see him come around the edge a good bit, but it's rare to see him get such a jump on a guy that he just flat out beats tackles around the edge. You will see it sometimes, but usually they've got their hands on him, and it's kind of in the gray area as to whether or not they're going to be able to push him out past the quarterback. A lot of times they can, and that's where you really start to see the beginnings of that elite speed that, say, a Micah Parsons has, or I'm blanking on the other names right now, so forgive me. But those elite edge rushers, This is where he starts to show up that he doesn't have that elite speed. He's good around the edge. He can fight his way through to get to the quarterback, but usually he's got a tackle right on top of him. He rarely flat out beats these guys, okay? He rarely flat out beats these guys around the edge. Usually if he does beat them around the edge, it's because he set it up with this inside move, and they're kind of trying to stop the inside move, and now he's got that little bit of a half step that he needs to beat them around the outside edge, okay? So very important that he can do that, but again, his speed is not so great that he's going to do that consistently time and time again, beat them off the edge. There are a lot of plays where they can just push him out around the quarterback, and he's not able actually to get pressure on the quarterback. The quarterback is able to step up and throw the football. You'll see that as well if you feel like watching the film. By the way, how much film have I watched on this? Very quickly, since we're doing the in-depth version. I watched the Western Michigan game every snap twice. The Washington game every snap twice. The Rutgers game every snap twice. The Nebraska game twice. Wisconsin every snap twice. Michigan State every snap twice. Penn State every snap twice. Ohio State every snap twice. The Iowa game I watched it one time through. And each of these games, even though I watched them twice, I stopped a lot of these plays, broke them down in slow motion. So if some of you have done more video work than I have on that, and some of you may have, and you're seeing things differently, by all means post it in the comments. And I'm not going to fuss about it or jump up in the air about it. Just add it to what you've already studied. But this is how much work I've done on it. I thought about doing more because some of my takes aren't exactly the mainstream takes on Hutchinson right now. But this is kind of as much work as I wanted to do on it. I had other people I wanted to cover, other videos I wanted to do. So this is how far I got in my research. If you've done more and you're coming to different conclusions, by all means, post that, okay? So he's got the speed around the edge. Now, this is where those of you who have seen him knock the Ohio State, I think it was the left tackle, right back on his hump. Or if you've seen, I forget, maybe it was the Western Michigan guy, if you've seen him literally push the tackle back into the quarterback, this strength category right here is why. He's got the inside move, that's his best move. He uses that to set up the outside edge because he doesn't have elite speed, but he does have above average speed. Once he's got a tackle off balance, and they're worried about the inside edge, and they're worried about the outside edge, and now they're trying to kind of keep their balance, and they're just hoping to keep him away from the quarterback. That's when, and he plays standing up for the most part, that's when he just runs into them head on, and that's when he can either knock them over or push them back into the quarterback. You actually don't see that much. I think there's two plays in the highlights where he does it, and you're like, wow, this guy's amazing. But he actually doesn't do it that much. When you're talking about strength, there are plays where he can, and again, all I've got, this is just like one-on-one here. This is him versus the tackle. There are plays where you'll see him push the guy back into the quarterback. It happens, usually because the tackle is off balance at that point. That's really what's happening. It's not that he's pushing tackles around all over the place. In fact, if we want to talk about strength, and this is very important, why do I say that his strength isn't A or A+? Because of the highlights I've seen, here's why. When he's in the running game, and the ball has been handed off to the running back, you never, and I mean never, see him push these tackles around anywhere. When the tackles know that the ball is being handed off, and they're able to anchor down and set up and not have to worry about him getting after the quarterback, when the tackles are able to do that, you will never, and this is just on the college level, you will never see Hutchinson pushing these guys anywhere. You don't usually see them pushing him back either, okay? You won't see that. Basically what you see is him setting the edge, and then it's kind of basically a standoff at that point. He is very strong, but he just does not have the body mass to push these guys around. And when you watch the running game, whenever teams try to run against Michigan, you would not see him pushing around these tackles or busting up running plays by pushing these guys around. He doesn't have the body mass for that, okay? So up against the run, strength-wise, he's able to hold his own. That's about it. He's not busting up the running game because he's a Superman or anything like that. That's just not happening. This isn't Aaron Donald we're talking about. This isn't J.J. Watt. Those guys are a lot bigger. They just have a lot more poundage, and that's important in the NFL. It's important in college too, but it's a lot more important in the NFL. So you're not going to see him pushing these guys around unless he adds 15 to 20 pounds. And I always hesitate to tell a guy to do that. I hesitate to tell a team to tell a guy to do that because you're changing his game at that point. But any comparisons to J.J. Watt with Aidan Hutchinson, stop right here. He does not have the body mass. J.J. Watt, I think, coming out of college was somewhere in the 280, 285, 288 category. I don't remember exactly. He was a lot heavier, a lot stockier. The weight was spread out a lot more lower body mass. People like Aaron Donald, those defensive tackle kind of people, they have the body mass. He doesn't. And so versus the run, he's not going to push anybody around. Here's what's something else that is key. And this is important. For those of you who are wondering, well, Ben, he's got all these tools in his box. Why are you saying that he's not unblockable? On the blockability, you've only got him graded as a B. I watched the highlights. He looks unblockable. I watch him versus Iowa. He literally runs around the tackle, runs around the running back, and sacks the quarterback. He looks unblockable to me. Why are you on here saying that? Well, sometimes it can be. This is why. And I'll show it on two different diagrams here. Versus offensive tackles who actually try to stop his momentum at the line of scrimmage. So in other words, if this is the line of scrimmage, typically in pass coverage, it's pretty normal to just see these tackles kind of drift back and just kind of try to kind of wait for almost the defensive ends to come to them. Typically though, when offensive tackles don't do that to Hutchinson, when they try to meet him right there at the line of scrimmage, what happens is this. When they hit him right away and they get up in his chest, he doesn't get to use his hands to swat their hands away. They've already got up into his chest and they've taken that hand strength thing away. The hand slap is now worthless. Also, because he doesn't have elite speed, he's got good speed, he's not able to use it as quickly because he doesn't have the momentum. Over here on this side, when you see him when they're backing up, when you see him getting to have all of that space to get that momentum started, get that quick first step, get his whole body across the line of scrimmage. He's already 2 to 3 yards closer to the quarterback than he was at the snap. When you see that, he's got plenty of time to then use his inside jump move. But when they stop him right here at the line of scrimmage, when they hit him right there, when they hit him full force right there, most of the time, that's kind of it for him. And you can see this on a number of plays. You can see it against Michigan State. You can see it against Penn State. You can see it, and again, I cannot remember if it's the left tackle or the right tackle versus Ohio State. Basically, one of the tackles, Hutchinson just wore them out all day because they were trying to back up and balance his foot and hand speed, and you can't do that. The other guy, for the most part, kind of hindered him all day because he was doing this style of blocking right here. And it's meeting him right there at the line of scrimmage. They're not allowing him to get that momentum. They're not allowing him to get that quick first step. They're not allowing him to get in space. They're not allowing him any distance to where he can use his hands. They're just right up on him. They're right in his chest. They've stopped his momentum. And then he doesn't have the quickness to get around. And he doesn't have the body mass to push through. And that's right here where the strength starts to come in. When tackles block him right here, it's almost as if they're run blocking him the whole time. Instead of trying that typical pass blocking where you kind of drop back, it's almost as if they are run blocking Aidan Hutchinson the entire time. And he doesn't have the body mass to push through that. He just doesn't. He's very strong. I mean, the dude could break my neck if he wanted to. I am not questioning his strength, but the body mass isn't there, okay? They can stop him right here at the line of scrimmage, and for the most part, those are the tackles who had the success against Hutchinson. They weren't usually able to completely shut him down. Usually at some point he would figure out a way to get a sack because he's a handful, okay? He's a headache and a handful. There's no question about it. But on average, these guys right here, this first type of offensive tackles who meet him at the line of scrimmage and they're basically run blocking him right there, they're able to anchor down. Typically speaking, they were able to stop him a lot more than the other guys, these offensive tackle twos, who backed up, let him have the first step, let him get his whole body across the line of scrimmage, gave him the space to use his hands. That allows the door for him to use his footwork. So there's two different ways to guard him. One is pathetically unsuccessful because he has so many tools in the box. The other one, this one right here, pretty successful, okay? Now, let's talk some more about strength. How does he do against tight ends? Well, against tight ends who are big, and most of them are as big as he is. Tight ends who are big can usually block him for about 2 seconds. Again, as long as they hit him right there at the line of scrimmage, they can usually hold him off for about 2 seconds. That's the average. And a number of teams like to do this as well. I'll steal somebody from right here. A number of teams, if this is the tackle, a number of teams actually like to put a tight end right here and block him for about 2 seconds, and then as soon as he's breaking through, the tight end simply runs out here into the flat, and the quarterback then uses that as kind of the last option, the check down option, if you will. That's standard. You'll see that all through college football. You'll see that all through the NFL. But what they're doing is they're using a tight end to block him for 2 seconds while the quarterback scans the rest of the field. And again, he's not strong enough to just shove these guys around. They're blocking him for 2 seconds, and then if the quarterback doesn't see anything, oh well, the tight end is going to release, okay, because he can't block Hutchinson for anything longer than about 2.5 seconds anyway. And then we just pass to the tight end out in the flat. But that's standard, that's normal, that's not anything that they're only doing to Aidan Hutchinson, but you do see that. Teams love to do that, okay? So let's talk about his speed. Again, some of you are saying, well, Ben, I've watched his highlight videos. Man, they come up on Twitter, they come up on YouTube, they come up on ESPN. The guy looks amazing. Well, he is amazing, but he's not unstoppable. And here's where you really start to see the speed. When, the play against Iowa, for instance, when he's running past the left tackle and then he's shooting past the running back, listen, it's a waste of time. It is a complete waste of time to try to block him with a running back once he's already past the tackle. Completely worthless. And probably in the NFL that's going to be the case. Once he's got his momentum and he's past this tackle, it is completely worthless to have a running back here waiting on him to stop him. They have no chance, okay? Anybody who's going to have any chance against Hutchinson has to do it at the line of scrimmage. It has to be with a tackle who is kind of run blocking, or you can use a tight end for about 2 seconds to do it as well. But you can't have a running back sitting back here. It's worthless. It will not work. And anybody who tries to double team him with a running back, once he's got his momentum here in this area, and I'm using two different colors here, but I'm sorry. Anybody who tries to have a running back waiting for him here, it's no good. Hutchinson's going to push right through that. That's a waste of time. Complete waste of time. You'll see this time and time and time again on the videos. He's got too good of hands. His footwork's too good. Once he's got the momentum, his strength is above average, his speed is above average, you were toast, okay? You have no chance. And that's what's showing up on the highlight videos, okay? That's what's really showing up is when he's doing all of this stuff here, okay? Now, what about his speed? Okay, if this is Hutchinson right here, here's 4 of the offensive linemen, not all of them. Here's 2 other defensive linemen. Here's your quarterback, here's a running back, and let's let this be a wide receiver who's already coming across as well. Anytime, no matter who this is, this could be a tight end, this could be a running back, this could be a wide receiver. Anytime, no matter where they come from, they're going out and pass, say a crossing route, something like this, and Hutchinson is supposed to be guarding him on every single play, without exception, they just run away from him, okay? He has no chance to catch them at all. And it doesn't matter who the player is, a tight end, it could be a bigger, slower tight end. You will never see Hutchinson, and this is on the college level, going to be worse than the pros. You will never see Hutchinson catching any of these guys at all, okay? They just flat run away from him, all right? So if for some reason teams are thinking about, well, maybe we can convert him into a linebacker, and again, they're not going to want to do this. They're going to put him at defensive end. That's his spot. But again, what all can he do? He can't do this, okay? He cannot block people out. He cannot guard people out in space. And once they catch the ball, he has absolutely no chance of catching them, absolutely none. You will not see him make plays downfield. At times, you will see him hustling downfield, but you will not see him catching anybody. What about in the flat, okay? Let's say this is his starting position. Let's say the running back comes out here for a pass. The quarterback throws it. You will not see Hutchinson catching any of these running backs, okay? He's not fast enough. He does not have the speed to do that. Is that bad? Can all defensive ends do that? No, a lot of them can't. College level, pro level, a lot of them can't. But some of them can. And the reason they can is because they have elite speed. Their instincts are through the roof, and their speed is through the roof. Hutchinson's is not. He will not get out here and be able to make plays out here. They will run right past him almost every time, almost without exception. And it doesn't seem to matter if it's on a screen play or if it's just a pass out to the flat. You will not ever see Hutchinson getting out there to the flat to make plays. It's just not going to happen. Here's what else you don't see. When Hutchinson gets through, and keep this in mind, against I don't have all the teams up here. In the 12 games that he played in 2021, most of it was against Big Ten competition. Two of the guys, I can't remember exactly, I don't think it was Western Michigan, but there were two quarterbacks who were mobile, above average, and could not just, they weren't just scrambling, but they could actually run the football downfield to some degree. Everybody else, though, typical quarterbacks who just drop back. Okay, they stay on a spot, that's where they stay. They go up, they might go up in the pocket to throw the football, but they're not all over the place. Hutchinson typically did not have to go against that kind of quarterback. But anytime you saw a quarterback scrambling this way, you would never see Hutchinson catching them. Okay, no chance. He has no chance at all to catch any quarterback with speed. He can catch a Peyton Manning or a Tom Brady, those kinds of guys. But if you're talking about the Baker Mayfields of the world, Lamar Jackson, forget it. Of course, who can catch him? But even the other guys in the NFL who have speed, he will not ever catch them from behind, even if they're just kind of rolling out like Patrick Mahomes likes to do, just rolling, rolling, rolling. Hutchinson does not have the speed to get over there. You'll not see him make that kind of play. He's a heck of a player. He's a headache. I love what he does on the football field. Doesn't have the speed, okay? Doesn't have the speed. Kayvon Thibodeau does, okay? Micah Parsons, who's already in the NFL, does. Micah Parsons scares quarterbacks to death. He can catch them. Hutchinson cannot, okay? What is Hutchinson good at? He's good at getting momentum. He's good at working to the inside. He's then good at working to the outside. He's then good at hitting players up close. But if they stop him right here at the line of scrimmage, they can hinder a lot. One other thing, and it's going to feel like I'm just trying to tear Hutchinson down. I'm not. This is an in-depth video. We're going to go in-depth, okay? A lot of times, I think out of his 14 sacks, which I guess he played 13 games, including the Iowa Big Ten game, but out of his 14 or so sacks that he got, there was a significant number of those sacks in which, and we'll let this be Ojabo, in which his teammate, his defensive end, Ojabo, was actually getting to the quarterback first. Plays in which Hutchinson was really kind of blocked for the most part, kind of handled, but Ojabo was actually able to get that outside edge, get pressure on the quarterback, and chase him over into Hutchinson, where Hutchinson was either able to make a strip or get the sack. I think it was 4 or 5 out of the 14 sacks. It was a significant number in which Ojabo, who's not as well trained, Ojabo hasn't been playing football as long, Ojabo certainly has not spent the time in football that Hutchinson has, hasn't gotten the training that Hutchinson has. There are a significant number of plays in which Ojabo is the first guy there. and they just run away from Ojabo, and often they're running into Hutchinson. I think it was 4 or 5 sacks out of Hutchinson's total 14. What are you trying to say, Ben? Well, the point is this, that not all of those sacks that Hutchinson got were just because he's so amazing. A lot of them, several of them, were because pressure from Ojabo pushes the quarterback over there into Hutchinson. Okay, so where would you draft him at? Right now, I know, and again, these are people I respect. I'm not ripping apart these other people who do a lot of excellent draft work, who we all love to listen to. I'm not doing that. And I'm not trying to hot take, but me personally, based on the strength and the speed factors that we've talked about, I wouldn't draft him number 1. I would hesitate to draft him in the top 5. I'm not even totally sure, because I haven't done the draft work on all the other people, I'm not totally sure that I would draft him in the top 10. Now again, he's always going to be a heck of a football player. And it just may be, if NFL teams find success blocking him here at the line of scrimmage, like we talked about, it may be that he can add the 15 or 20 pounds of body mass, and that he does turn into a J.J. Watt kind of a player. He's got that skill set, no question about it. Can he adjust, though? If teams are having success doing that, and by the way, the tackles that he goes up against in the NFL, even the bad ones, are going to be a whole heck of a lot better than the ones he was playing in college, okay? So, and again, I know he's going up against some all-conference guys at Ohio State and Penn State and blah, blah, blah. But if they're having success here, if they're having success there, can he adjust off of that? Can he find enough? And I would hesitate to draft him high. I just don't see the elite speed that some other edge rushers have. And I don't see the J.J. Watt kind of body mass and push ability that Watt has and that, say, and Aaron Donald has. So I would hesitate to draft him there. If you disagree, by all means, I totally respect that. Got no problem with that at all. But if I were an NFL executive and I was studying this, and they'll be breaking all this down, and I was seeing what was giving him trouble and what wasn't. When did he look amazing and when did he look average? When did he look unblockable and when did he look very blockable? These are the things I'm going to be looking at. And these are the things that would at least make me hesitate to draft him. Now, every draft pick that anybody's ever made has something about them that you say, well, that's a problem in their game. That's a flaw. That's something that NFL teams will try to exploit. So, again, some of the stuff that you can say about Hutchinson, you can say some different things about Thibodeau. You can say some different things about Micah Parsons, for instance, who's already in the NFL. There's always a weakness. Nobody's got A-pluses across the board. Everybody's got A's and B's and C's, okay? So there is no perfect draft pick. Hutchinson isn't, the other guys aren't, okay? And I haven't done my draft work on the other guys to say exactly where Hutchinson will be. My main point in all of this is that Hutchinson is a tremendous football player. I think he'll be a tremendous NFL football player, but I'm not sure that he's just going to come in and change the franchise or change the defense or even necessarily change the defensive line, because he does have things that people have been able to successfully use against him to some degree in some of these games. All right, okay, I think that's it. I think we've covered everything that I want to cover. But perhaps if I've left something out, I'll come back and cover it again, but I think that's enough for tonight. So thank you so much for listening. If you're still hanging on, I appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Have a good one. Bye.